Good evening. A curfew has been imposed in sections of Grand Spen and major police operations launched in the area following Friday's triple murder which occurred along Morgan Lane in St. Andrew. Dead are 42-year-old Joseph Smith, otherwise called Joe, a delivery man of Morgan Lane, 44-year-old Bashma Miller, a shopkeeper of the same community, and 39-year-old Kevin Eddy, otherwise called Bummer, of Seaview Garden, St. Andrew. Reports from the sub-officer in charge of Grand Spen Police Station, Inspector Tyrone Archer, are that about 5:45 p.m. all three men were sitting amongst a group of people along Morgan Lane at a shop when a black motor car drove up and three men alighted from the motor car and opened gunfire, hitting Smith, Miller, and Eddy.
Approximately 5:45 thereabout, the police was alerted to sounds of gunshots in the Morgan Lane. And having responded, we were pounced upon by three bodies lying on the ground. Based on the severity of the injuries, we have reasonable cause to believe that they might have succumbed on the spot, but they were in fact pronounced dead at a later time. There are several theories that are floating around and which we are following assiduously. But interestingly, one Mr. Bamsha Miller, his brother, Joseph Smith, and a friend of his, Nestor Eddy, were reportedly sitting along the roadway vicinity of 3 Morgan Lane when a black car conveying 4 male occupants stopped at their feet and opened fire, alighted the vehicle and opened fire. All 3 men who were sitting along the roadway ran in separate directions, however were chased and brutally slaughtered.
Inspector Archer says they have been reaping success on these operations.
The operation this morning is a continuity of what we would have initiated Friday. Since the curfew within the Grand Spen space, we have been carrying out several operational activities, and the aim and the objectives of the operation is to capture persons of interest, known violence producer within the space, and to recover stolen or illegal weapons. We would have had some success, and this success might not be quantitative, but it is more qualitative, where we have gone closer to the people of St. Andrew North, and we have made some valuable recoveries that we wish not to divulge at this particular point until we're absolutely sure that we can create a nexus with the matter that is at hand. We are much closer than we were Friday, and but there are a lot of fine-tuning that needs to be done before we can inform the members of the public what we are doing in terms of what the success that we would have had in that regards.
We will bring you more on this story in subsequent newscasts. A man was fatally shot during a confrontation with the St. Mary police this morning, hours after he allegedly murdered a female shopkeeper in ANNOTTO Bay in the parish. The deceased man has been identified as 25-year-old Frederick Palmer, otherwise called Sledge, of Crooked River in ANNOTTO Bay. Palmer was fingered as the triggerman in the shooting death of 45-year-old Claudia Kosing, also from Crooked River. According to police reports, Kosing was at home at about 5:30 p.m. on Sunday when she was called to attend to a customer in the shop. Upon her arrival at the shop, an armed man opened fire, hitting her in the head before escaping from the scene. The police were summoned and Kosing was taken to hospital, where she was pronounced dead. Hours later, Palmer, who was suspected of being the shopkeeper's killer, was shot by the police during a confrontation. He later succumbed to his injuries. 3 men were shot and killed in the parish of Westmoreland between Friday night and Saturday morning. Those killed have been identified as 25-year-old TAVOY Green, a farmer of ARGYLE Mountain in BETHEL town community, 35-year-old Henry Thompson, and his 24-year-old cousin JEMARIO Fenton, both laborers of Big Bridge in Westmoreland. Reports by the BETHEL town police are that about 1 a.m., Green was walking in his community when he was ambushed by 2 men and shot multiple times. Residents in the community summoned the police, and upon their arrival, Green was rushed to hospital where he was pronounced dead. Prior to Green's death, gunmen struck in the Little London community about 9:20 p.m. on Friday night, killing Fenton and Thompson. Reports are that both men were at a bar in the Big Bridge community when two men traveling on motorcycles drove to the location and opened fire, hitting them. The men escaped on the motorcycles, while both victims were discovered suffering from gunshot wounds, were rushed to hospital where they were pronounced dead. Jamaican schools have become a battlefield, says Minister of Justice DELROY. Here's Colleen May with the details.
Minister of Justice DELROY says schools have become a battlefield.
In many ways, Jamaica is under siege. We are not yet Ukraine, but we have far too many battlefields across Jamaica. Sadly, our schools have become battlefields. We have far too many of our children who are engaging not only in quarrels and conflicts, but actual fighting. And in the fighting, violence is used. The Minister of Education, and she has asked me to bring greetings to managing the school on her behalf. She has a heavy task to see how we can secure our schools. And all the ministers have been urged to assist her to make sure that the schools really can engage in what they're supposed to do to bring our students up to adulthood and to prepare them for a life of progress, a life that they can be happy and enjoy the best quality of life.
Minister Chuck, who was addressing the ministry's Alternative Dispute Resolution ADR Services Public Education Campaign session at the Manning School in Savannah Lamar, Westmoreland on the weekend, explained that violence within communities have contributed to children's violent behavior being played out in schools.
You have students who are coming from war-torn areas where within the families you have nothing but fights. Neighbors are fighting one another. Gangs have taken over many communities. And these types of abuses and violence is what our children coming from these communities are learning. And so when they come to school, it is no wonder they see and believe that the way to solve problems is to fight and to use violence against one another. And so teachers, you have a great challenge in that many of the students who come into the classrooms are coming from difficult communities, difficult families. No longer are the parents in control of many of their children. The children oftentimes are in control of the parents. And therefore, you, the teachers, are being called upon not only to exercise your role as teachers, but oftentimes to use your parenting skills to assist the students.
Mr. Chuck also said that in this time, it is required of teachers to do more.
It is no longer a case where you're imparting the mathematics and the English and the social studies. I was a teacher, and I wanted to concentrate and teach in mathematics. And that is really what you, the teachers, are expected to do. But in today's schools, you have to do more. More is required of you, the teachers. You may well have to use social or assist in teaching social skills. And I know some of you are doing it. But that extra mile will have to be carried out by virtually all the teachers to ensure that social skills are imparted to the students. And I say to the principal, the vice principal, and the teachers, Your job is extremely challenging, and I know you can't do it alone. And I would like to say to you, the teachers, and to you, the senior students here at Mannings, that the Ministry of Justice and other ministries want to assist you, and we're going to assist you with programs that you can utilize in the schools.
The session was also addressed by representatives of the Justice Ministry and ADR entities who provided information about the services available and share the program's successes. The public education campaign will, among other things, seek to address various types of disputes and emphasize the effectiveness of ADR methods to provide redress and restore relationships. Reporting from Mello TV News, I'm Colleen May.
Meanwhile, Minister DELROY visited the courthouse in Westmoreland during his Justice Ministry's Alternative Dispute Resolution Services Public Education Campaign session at the Manning School in Savannah Lamar. In speaking with our news team, Mr. Chuck said that plans are on the way to do major repairs on courthouse in the parish.
When I visit the parishes, it's my intention to look at the courts, because here in Westmoreland is the first time I'm visiting. And this court is not yet a 1-star. By the time we finish with it, I want it to be 5-star. I'm just walking and looking around. It's quite clear that a lot of work needs to be done in this court. So I am taking the opportunity to see how best we can really not only improve the space, but when people come to this court, it must be a wow. They should be happy to see that the court that is serving and delivering justice, that it is appropriate for them to come and have justice delivered. At the moment, there's a shortage of space because at one time it was used by the Westmoreland Parish Municipal Corporation. Municipal Corporation has now put in a new building, but some space is still being used by the Roads and Works Committee. And we're hoping that with dialogue and negotiations with the municipal council, that they should be able to give up the rest of space at this courthouse so that the court staff, the judges can utilize it and we can fix it up properly.
He also pointed out that the objective is to bring the facility up to standard for visitors and employees to first-class operation and service.
The concept really that I will be meeting with the judges and the staff here is to find out how best we can make this court not only fully efficient and operational, but how we can lift the standards so that when people come here, they can get first-class service. In addition, we want to find out and project how best we can increase the services and also to redirect some of what they do here to alternative dispute resolution. Because with this alternative dispute resolution, we are hoping that restorative justice, mediation, child diversion, victim services can take off hundreds of the cases. So that is the mission here, and I'm hoping an impact can be made in this parish. I'm happy to say that this is the first court I'm visiting. We have some resources, so it's a question of identifying what needs to be done right away, and we make it, it will be at the top of the list to have it done. So once we identify what can be done, what should be done, then the resources are available. So we will at least start doing so. It would be nice to negotiate with the municipal council to take over the building fully.
Minister Chuck further announced works will be done to courthouses across several parishes.
Because we will be building new courts in St. James, Trelawney, St. Anne, Manchester, and St. Catherine. Those are 5 courts that I'm projecting will be built over the next 3 to 5 years. So the other courts, we just have to upgrade. And this court is, to the best of my knowledge, maybe close to 100 years old. So it means that it really requires a lot of upgrading, but it's still a functional court. but it's just to better utilize the space or improve the features here. And I'll be discussing with the judge and the staff how we can best ensure that we have excellent facilities.
The Bridgeport police are reporting that an 8-year-old Bridgeport primary student, Dilshan McLean of Caymanas Estate in Spanish Town, St. Catherine, who was involved in an accident outside his school on Friday, has succumbed to his injuries. Reports from the police are that at about 1:50 p.m., a Toyota Hiace motor truck was traveling along Germain Road in a northerly direction and heading towards the Southborough roundabout. Upon reaching the vicinity of the school, it is alleged that Dilshan and a female student walked into the road as a vehicle was approaching, which hit both of them. Both students suffered serious injuries and were assisted to hospital, where Dilshan died whilst undergoing treatment. The female student was treated and admitted in serious but stable condition. The driver of the Toyota Hiace motor truck was warned for prosecution. Investigations continue. A Trelawney man died from injuries he received in a motorcycle accident along the Samuel Prospect Main Road in the parish on Saturday morning. He's been identified as 36-year-old Siobhan Adrian of a Prairie Park address, also in Trelawney. Reports by the Falmouth police are that about 5 a.m. on Saturday, Adrian was traveling on his motorcycle along Samuel Prospect Main Road when he lost control of the motorcycle and collided with a utility pole. Adrian was assisted to the Falmouth Hospital by passing motorists, where he was later pronounced dead. Jamaica yesterday reported 26 new cases of COVID-19, bringing the total number of confirmed cases on the island to 128,869. According to latest statistics from the Ministry of Health and Wellness, the country also reported one more virus-related death. The death toll since the start of the pandemic now stands at 2,876. Of the newly reported cases, there were 19 females and 7 males, with ages ranging from 4 years to 78 years. Meanwhile, the latest death is an 84-year-old male from Hanover. The death occurred in September 2021. The country also recorded 67 new recoveries, bringing the total number of recoveries to 81,425. And those are the stories making the news. We now take a break and then join Christopher Scott with the sports.